What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another John boat to bass boat conversion video. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you everything you could possibly need to build out your John boat. So this video is basically a shopping list for everything you need. When I first built this John boat, I wasted a lot of time on shipping time because I would order stuff as I went. But this time around, for the second build, I know exactly what I need in this John boat. So I figured I would share this information with you guys. So let's get started.
Check out that catfish.
So I'm gonna start this video by saying, of course, every boat build is different. Every boat is gonna have different things in it, but a lot of this stuff is basic stuff that you will have to have. But again, every boat's different, and there may be stuff that's in your boat that's different from my boat. It just depends on what you wanna throw in your boat. But first thing you're gonna need is obviously a John boat. It could be any length, 10 foot, 12 foot, 14 foot, 16 foot, 18 foot, 20 foot, and so on. But you gotta start somewhere, and that is starting with the boat. A trailer will help out too. This is pretty obvious stuff, but it's important. Next up, you're going to need a motor. When I was shopping for a motor, all I could find was this 8 horsepower motor, and it was 4 hours away. I still, to this day, 1 year later, still cannot find a motor anywhere around me unless I buy a brand new. But there's that motor. Also, you will need a trolling motor. I didn't bring it out here just because it's heavy, but I got the base. So you'll need a trolling motor, and then you'll also need a way to mount the trolling motor. For this build, I have a trolling motor bracket here. On the last build, I just attached it to the deck, built my own brace out of wood. Next up, you'll need batteries. Can't have a motor, trolling motor, or electronics without batteries. So on the last build, I had 2 big batteries and 1 small battery. The small battery was to run a fish finder. On this build, I'm just gonna have 2 batteries. I'm gonna get rid of the small one. Now that I know how long these batteries can last, I know that I won't need the extra battery. So 2 batteries. Another thing you'll need for the batteries, if you want it, is a battery box. Just to keep things off of the battery, keep metal off the terminals, because that is how you start a fire. If these 2 terminals touch, instant fire. You do not want to mess with that on a boat. So a battery box keeps it safe. Battery box also comes with straps to tie down the battery so it's not bouncing around. Battery boxes are optional. You don't need it. I'll probably throw one in my boat just because they will fit. Next up, a gas tank. Can't run a motor without gas. So you'll need a gas tank. This is a 6-gallon. It fits perfect in my boat, so I went with a 6. A 3-gallon or a 6-gallon will work perfect for these little John boats and the little motors. Also, you will need a hose and all the attachments. Depending on what type of gas tank you have, this gas tank, I had to go out and buy this attachment here. So that was the attachment I had to buy. It did not come with the tank. I had to buy this attachment to connect to this. So yeah, all that has to connect. This is the old hose. This hose has completely different attachments from my last gas tank compared to this one. So the new hose is already in the boat with the right attachments. I just didn't want to take it all out of the foam because it's in there. But yeah, you got to do your research, get the right hoses, get the right attachments for the gas tank. Next up, if you have batteries, you're going to need battery chargers. So this is a 2-bank 8-amp battery charger. So what this does is these connects to the batteries at all times. It stays connected, and all I have to do is connect this to an outlet on the wall. Super simple. I highly recommend going this method. But if you don't want to spend the money, those are pretty expensive, like 200 bucks. Or you can buy a battery tender. This just plugs into the wall, and you can plug this up to the battery. Negative, positive, and that charges your battery. That kind of sucks though, because you have to either take out the batteries every time or run an extension cord, plug these in every single time. Kind of a pain in the butt, but that is a cheaper way to go. I think this was like 40 or 50 bucks for this battery tender. I think they're about 40 bucks. Next up, you're going to need wiring. You're gonna have a whole bunch of lights, panels, everything that all gets connected by wires. So I mainly run 14 gauge wire in my boat. That is the majority of the wire. This is marine grade. You want to go marine grade. Don't go cheap on your wiring. Get marine grade. Do it safe, do it right. The first time, this is 6-gauge marine wire. Now this was pretty expensive. This was like 60 bucks for 15 feet. I got 15 feet because my original plan was to have it running the trolling motor all the way from the front to all the way to the back battery. When you run wire a long distance, the wire has to be thicker. So there is the wiring. As you can see, wiring can be a huge mess, so you want zip ties. Zip ties can keep everything nice and clean. You also want to get some kill switches. This will kill the battery. Turns off all the power to your battery. So you got your wiring. Let's go ahead and jump over to the connectors and all that stuff. So here we have a multi-connection battery terminal. This is a way to connect a lot of different things easily to your battery. I never ended up using this, but it's an option. Here's another thing that I never ended up using, a battery clip extension. Just never used it. But here we have some connectors. We got some butt connectors, some heat shrink ring terminals of different sizes. We got some quick connects. We got some connectors here. This is for the 6-gauge wire, same as this. That is a ring terminal that is 6-gauge. Here is an inline fuse holder. You may need a few of these. For all the wiring attachments and connectors you put on, you want to wrap it in heat shrink tubing. Get the marine heat shrink tubing. This has glue adhesive on the inside, so when you melt it, it melts the glue and melts it all together. This is the same stuff. Adhesive lined heat shrink tubing. Next up for electrical, liquid tape. This stuff is amazing, and you definitely want this on your boat. You need to use this on all your wiring connections. Next up, this is solder that I'm currently out of. So why I'm taking out everything out of the boxes and going through it all is to figure out what I need. So far I figured out I need solder and some latches. I have no latches yet, so need to go to Amazon and order that. So we got solder. All right, next up we got a soldering iron. This thing is awesome. I really like this thing. This is a solder iron and a heat gun all in one. It also did one more thing, but I forgot what it did because I didn't use that attachment. But yeah, this thing was cool. Runs off butane. Don't have to worry about no wires or anything like that. Heats up all on its own pretty quick. And it does run on butane, so I got some extra butane. My local stores were all out of butane. They had none anywhere, so I had to order some off Amazon. Luckily, you can order that off Amazon. But there's that. Also, now I have a heat gun. I was using this as a heat gun, which I like because it gets all the heat in one spot. This thing shoots out heat. It's gonna get everywhere. But I may try to use that this time around, but I'm not too sure. Of course, you're gonna need your wire cutters and crimpers and all that stuff. Okay, so we talked about the wiring, all the connectors, all that stuff. Now we can talk about the fuse blocks. So these are awesome. You need a fuse block in your boat, but this is a fuse block and a positive and a negative bus bar all in one. These things are great. I'm probably just only gonna use one in this new build. I had two, but I really only need one. I used 3 spots for this entire thing. So just gonna be using one this time around. Next up, we got panel switches. So I got these 2 on the last build. I had 2 in the boat, 1 in the front, 1 in the back. I kind of split everything up. On this build, it's all gonna be connected all together. But on this one, I used 3, and on this one, I used 2. That's only 5 switches. So I went out and bought a new one here. This one has 7 switches and 2 USB ports, and it also tells you the voltage. So gonna be updating that to this one. Gonna get rid of these 2, have it all in one spot. Gonna be sick. So much cleaner and nicer of a build. All right, so there is that. You're going to need some navigation light ports to plug in your nav lights. You will need 2. This one is for the front of the boat. I already have the one in back connected there. So if you're gonna be doing any nighttime fishing, you will have to have these on your boat. Oh, there is more wiring for the batteries. There's the negative side. So next up, you're going to need some lights. So this is a nav light for the front of the boat, and this is the anchor light for the back of the boat. Once again, you will need that if you do nighttime fishing. Here I have these 10 little LED lights. Each one has 6 LEDs. All these lights are going to go on the inside of my boxes. So when I open up a hatch, the light will be there and I can see what I'm doing. So I also got this 2-piece kit of spot and flood combo lights. This is the one thing I regret not putting on my John boat the first time, because I could not see where I was going at night. I had to hold a flashlight. So these are going on the front of my boat. It's gonna shine out and I will have lights to see where I'm going at night, which is huge. But there's also many different type of lights you can buy. Here are LED strips that I had on the first build. Many different types of lights on Amazon. It's insane. But however you want to do it, you can do it. You just will need lights. Also, here is a trailer light kit that I bought to replace my trailer lights on my trailer, because the trailer lights that come on this Academy trailer are trash. They blow up every time they get wet. So I got some waterproof LED new trailer lights, and it's the whole kit. So everything comes in this kit. They also sell replacement bulb kits that you can get if you don't want to replace the entire thing, but I'm tired of it not working, so I'm just gonna replace it all with a better and brighter system. So there's the lights. You will want lights on your boat. I also kind of want to do green lights on the bottom of the boat as well, but we'll see what happens. Not too sure about that yet. Next up, if you're fishing, you will need rod holders. Again, there's many different types of rod holders. I had these on the first build. I won't be using that, but they got 3-position rod holders. They got these. These are pretty sweet. You can position these however you want. And then, of course, the basic rod holder there. Next up, we got some boat rod straps. I did not put these on the first boat build, and I wanted to, and this build is definitely gonna have them. So we got 2 of those, but you gotta keep your rods secure when you're hauling butt down the lake. You do not wanna lose your rods in the water. So you need a kill switch. If you're driving down the lake and you fall out of your boat, you need to make sure your motor turns off. So that's actually a law now. You have to have this now. You also need a strap that goes around your wrist for that as well. But here's something that's kind of optional, but it's going on my boat. So this is a U-shaped rubber protective strip. I'm going to be putting this on all the metal edges, so it looks better and it's safer. Let me show y'all how I'm going to be doing this, or how this works. So I just grabbed a random piece of aluminum, but you can see how that wraps around the edge, keeps it safe, and it just makes it look so much nicer. But this will be going around all the hatches. Once again, that's optional. You don't need it, but it's just little things that make your boat look way, way better and more professional. Since we're talking about metal, you will need material for your decking. You have to build a deck. You can either go with aluminum, which is lightweight and the better option, or you can go with wood. If you go with wood, you have to paint the wood. So to paint your boat, you need oil-based enamel. It has to be oil-based. Get oil-based. It makes anything waterproof. If there's any wood in your boat, paint it. Paint multiple layers of oil-based enamel on the wood, and that will protect it. I was literally pouring the paint on my wood, like just putting so much of the paint on there, and it makes it last. As you can see, this is a year old. It's been in the water for a long time, and this still looks perfect, brand new. So this is red. This is the paint I actually painted my John boat with. A lot of people ask me how the paint has held up, and the paint has held up great. No problems whatsoever. Oil-based enamel, and this color actually came off the shelf. They sell safety colors, which they sell like red, orange, yellow. I got the red, and that is what this color is. And yes, it holds up great. Next up, let's talk about the decking material. So on my first build, I went with the carpet. Carpet is great. I love the carpet. But this time around, I'm going with EVA foam. So that is going to be my new boat's decking material. I got 5 boxes of this. That should cover the top pretty easily. And hopefully some of the inside boxes, I'm going to use that stuff as well. So this is one of my old hatches. On the old hatches, I just had to pick it up and hold it there, which kind of sucks. So for this build, I also got some struts. So these are 10-pound struts. I will be able to pick the door up and it will stay there because of these. So once again, this is optional. You don't need it, but just the little things that make your boat 10 times better. Then you got a whole bunch of hardware. A lot of this hardware came with the boat, like with all the fish finders and all that stuff, but you also need hardware if you're going to attach a jack plate or a bunch of screws, just all the hardware you will need. That includes rivets. If you're doing aluminum, you will need a crap ton of rivets, drill bits, all different types of drill bits, countersinks. Since I'm doing aluminum on this build, I'm using rivets. But if you're doing wood, obviously you will need screws. Where's the screws? There's the screws. So we got multiple different type of screws. I used a lot of self-drilling screws to drill into the rivets on the boat. If you're drilling through aluminum, you want self-tapping screws. You will also need a bunch of glue, adhesive, marine grade sealant for your boat build. If you're screwing through the back transom, you need to cover that up. I just use marine grade sealant, it works pretty good. But if you're using carpet, you will need adhesive. Also to make all the waterproof boxes, waterproof adhesive. If you're gonna throw a seat in your boat, you may need the seat and then also the seat base. This is a 360-degree turning base. I'm not throwing a seat in my boat. I did that on the first build and had an accident. The seat opened up while driving down the road, ripped off the entire back seat. So I'm just not gonna put that chance into this new boat build. Having the seat was cool, but you'll have a seat built into the deck already here. There's no backrest. So next up, if you're gonna do a rod locker, you will need some PVC tubes, and then you will need foam. This is all the foam that I took out of the original boat. So that is a lot of foam that they threw in there. If you take the foam out, you need to put foam back in. So there's many options for foam. Here is some pink foam you can buy from Home Depot, which a lot of people use. I got 1 inch and then 1/2 inch here as well. Also, there is pour foam. So this is a 2-part flotation foam that you mix together and it creates a foam. You pour it in, it gets in all the little cracks, it expands and gets everywhere. So this foam here is pretty expensive. I think this is a 2-gallon kit for $117, I believe. There is a smaller quart kit as well. That's like 50 bucks, I think. Don't quote me on that, but you got 2 options for that. Pour foam and then just a board foam here. This foam here is cheaper, but it takes a lot more work to get in all the little gaps. So I think a mixture of both is perfect. I'm using both in my boat, so I think that's the way to go, honestly. What else do we got? So you're gonna be putting a crap ton of work into your John boat, so I recommend getting a cover. These boat covers are awesome. They're waterproof. They do not let water in. Next up, you will need a fish finder. If you want it, you don't need it, but if you want it, I run 2 fish finders on my John boat. I got this Hummingbird that goes in the back next to me for when I'm driving. And then when I'm fishing, I got the Garmin here that goes in the front of the boat. So you got that, you got all the wiring, which of course comes with the fish finders. We also need to talk about the decking. You will have to deck the frame of the John boat. So there's many options for decking. You can use aluminum sheeting, which can be heavier in some cases. You gotta be careful about that. You can use plywood. If you use plywood, you have to paint it with oil-based enamel, or you can use Cusa board. I mean, there's many options out there. I'm not sure what I'm gonna use yet, to be honest, but you will need the decking for the top deck. Also, if you're throwing a live well in your boat, you will need the actual live well itself, and then all the plumbing, the entire plumbing kit for the live well, which I also need to get myself. But I think that's it, guys. It's quite a bit of stuff, but honestly, I thought it was gonna be more. This doesn't look like very much stuff. This is the basics. Like I said, if you're gonna build your boat pretty insane and go all out, you may have more stuff, but to build a basic John boat, this is everything you need. All right here, everything you see, plus the John boat itself. But guys, I hope this helped. Of course, you're gonna need all the tools as well, rivet guns, saws, everything like that. That's pretty self-explanatory, I think. I mean, you can use any tool you want to get the job done, I feel like. So I'm not gonna go over tools just because it's basic stuff. So I want to weigh everything and keep track of how much weight I put in this boat because it's very important. It's one of the questions that I got asked the most was, how much does my boat weigh now? And how much weight did I add to the boat? And on the first build, I had no idea. I did know that it was way overweight though, but that's dangerous. You do not want to overweight your boat. And you also have to comply with the US Coast Guard safety standards. Every boat has a tag like this. These are the tags for my boat. I destroyed the original tags, but I got these made. This is the same exact weight and the personal limit. So for this boat, this 14-foot, 36-inch boat, the maximum person is 3 people. And then the maximum persons and gear is 615 pounds. So you can only put 615 pounds in this John boat with the people included. So people and gear, 615 pounds is the maximum weight. So I'm going to be putting this on the John boat once I'm done. I just don't know where to put them yet because these have to be on your boat. But yeah, that is why I want to weigh everything, just to keep track and just to be able to answer the question of how much it weighs. But guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.